Electrical is very unforgiving. I think when you look at recordables to actual fatalities in general industry, 300-1. In electrical, it's 30-1. She is a very unforgiving mistress. She does not give you very many opportunities, regardless of your skill set, regardless of your longevity, to make many mistakes. And I remember when I was told, Derek, we're very, very good at what we do. We are highly educated. We are highly talented. Unfortunately, when we make mistakes, they're usually not small.
Right.
And usually there are repercussions that can be severe. And one of them, obviously, is an arcing fault. Obviously, in my business, we absolutely acknowledge shock. Shock injuries and fatalities from shock are still by far number one in electrical. We just happen to focus on the other one of the other hazards, and that's
thermal protection
arc flash and protecting those against thermal. So when you look at what are you trying to give back? You're giving back to a profession that has taken on a challenge and works with something that is very, very beneficial, but with great benefit comes great challenges. And some of those great challenges are, it can hurt. Or one of the sayings that used to be going, electricity will hurt the whole time it's killing you, unfortunately. And that meme, even though it can be a little bit sardonic in a sense, a little bit black in its humor, it's very, very real. It will hurt the whole time. So we want to make sure that we can do our best to protect those.
Welcome to the LiveWire podcast, powered by Family. Join us as we explore the untold stories behind America's electrical infrastructure, sparking conversations about life, safety, business, and innovation. Brought to you by OEL.
Hi, I'm Asa Dyer here with the LiveWire podcast, and today my guest is Derek Sang of Bulwark FR. Hey, Derek, how's it going?
It's going great, Asa. How are you?
Good, Asa.
Asa,
we're going to clean that up, don't worry.
We can clean that up.
You know what, actually, I appreciate you doing that because most people do refer to me as Asa or Asa, and I really don't care because I have thick enough skin at this point in my age, but it is Asa.
Asa.
So, yeah, so
Very
there you
good.
go.
I got you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pretend that we're friends.
That's all good. We'll go through it.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the episode today. Obviously, I think, when I think Derek Sang, I think this really great public speaker. I think that you guys do such an incredible job of just speaking to the marketplace. But to kind of start this episode off, I really want to kind of learn a little bit about you. So who is Derek Sang? Where's he from? How did he get to where he's at today? Take the stage.
Well, it all depends on how far back you have to go, but I'll try and give you the Reader's Digest version. What a lot of people don't know, I was born and raised in Glasgow, Scotland. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. Ended up, football is what took me down to the States. So I ended up going down to the States, playing football through college, graduated from San Diego State. Had a hamburger and a milkshake up with the Calgary Stampeders back, as my kids like to tell me, in ancient times. Then I had to go out into the real world and get a job. So there was an interesting article that said, hey, open call for salespeople on such and such. So my degree was in public administration. I tell people all the time, I've never worked a single day in the degree that I was given. But with that being said, I fell into sales, started out with Lanier Worldwide, and then this crazy little small, medium-sized company back in 1993 recruited me. They wouldn't be called medium anymore today, but I joined Cintas in 1993. I had a great 12-year career with them. And in the last position I was actually given, it was more like, hey, we want to move you again. So I'd already moved 2 times with the family. I had young kids. The last move, I said to my kids, I go, look, this is where you're going to graduate school. I'm not moving you anymore. So as I progressed through there, they came to me and said, okay, we need to relocate you to Los Angeles. I go, no, can't do it. And they go, well, your only other option is you're going to be the FR guy.
What year was Los Angeles?
So the last request for me to move was like 2004.
Okay, so it's recovered from the 90s a bit.
Yeah. So we went through that 12 years. So now I am the FR, flame resistant specialist for the Western region. So that's what got me introduced into this very, very kind of niche market within the PPE world, within the safety products world. So did that for a while. Then I was recruited with Westex on the fabric side during their Endura and Endura Ultra Soft heyday.
Yeah, that was kind of the crown jewel.
That was the
and they
crown,
brought that to market.
Absolutely. 2011, 2011 hits. I end up moving into Bulwark. So October 10th of 2010, I joined Bulwark, and I've been there. I just celebrated my 15th year on the Bulwark side. I was originally brought in as what folks would know as a traditional business development manager, had a territory, went to the end user, tried to get our stuff spec'd. My boss at the time, very early on, says, "What do you want to do?" And I'd always had this pull towards coaching. Whether it was as a sales manager and doing sales training, or it was getting up in front of folks and actually getting out and coaching my kids throughout the years. I always had this, I felt pull towards that. So when he asked me, I go, "Look, I want to train people on this." And he goes, "Let's see how it goes. It'll be a couple years."
Train people on 2112.
Yeah, train people on selection, use, care, and maintenance of flame-resistant clothing. Now, that's what we didn't call it that back then. We weren't that sophisticated, but we said we need to train people on this tool because PPE is no longer shirts, pants, and coveralls. PPE is actually part of your safety stuff. So we had a class. It was kind of like this little hybrid. We talked to our distributors a little bit. So he goes, "Come in and do a session." At that time, 70E had kind of, it was on the upswing. So we had 70E and we had 2112 on our oil and gas side. So I went in and did a session. He pulled me aside. Long story short, he says, "It's yours." And I go, "Well, what does that mean?" He goes, "Do whatever you want with it."
Yeah, whatever you think is going to make sense and do the job.
Yeah. So 14 years ago, we started out on this kind of quest to educate our end users on what eventually became our most popular platform, and probably what you've heard over the years is the proper selection. How do you select this stuff? What criteria do you need? What's the difference between good stuff and not so good stuff? What are some of the key points? Then we got into the selection. So then we get into proper use. Well, you just don't throw this stuff on. You have to tuck it in, roll it down, secure it, things. So there is a proper way to use these garments so that they can maximize your protection. Then care and maintenance is a big thing. How do you care for it? And then how do you maintain it? And then at the end of that, / how and when do you retire it?
Right.
So that's kind of all the way from a little Scottish kid who came to Canada in the 70s and talked funny to here I am today across the table from Asa Dyer.
Asa. Yeah, Asa. Okay, cool. So let me go back a little bit on that storyline though, because one thing that stood out to me, I sat through your presentation at BPPA and I thought it was awesome, but to speak to that coaching component of your personality type, you were a football player at San Diego State.
Yes, sir.
What position did you play?
Believe it or not, back in those ancient times, as my kids always remind me, as a 300-pound offensive guard.
How big are you now?
Not 300. I'm more like 225, 230.
Your ankles, backs, knees, everything feels a little more. You're more flexible today.
Those are a little older than my actual age. Absolutely, they've seen a lot of wear and tear over the years. But that was my claim to fame in my younger days.
Did you play after college at all?
I had I had a little clip up with the Stampeders. Unfortunately, if you remember when you sat in on my presentation, I go through my career-ending neck injury that occurred.
Yeah, and I saw the picture of you, and I was like, holy smokes, that dude's huge. You're like, that's crazy. Yeah, he's a massive guy.
Obviously, God had a different path for me at that time and said, hey, football's going to end, and you're going to have to find another calling. And that coaching piece has always stayed within that, and the ability to communicate to others. And at the end of the day, the safety realm just has been a natural fit. I can't really sit there and say, if you want to do what I do, here's how you get there, because the path was just so unique. But I think anytime people's strengths and natural abilities can come out and someone is there to nurture them, and I've had a lot of good mentors back in my day. I've had from Darren Llewellyn to Hugh Hoagland and some of the other names that folks would recognize if I laid them all out there, have helped push me and kind of mold me into the direction to where I have the privilege to sit up in front of people who do very, very essential work for us. I mean, I always tell, not every presentation, but usually when I'm down with my line workers and it's a line worker specific class, I always thank them for, keeping the lights on and keeping the boogeyman at bay, because very few places, if you've ever went to a place that's sustained a blackout for any extended period of time, when those lights come back on, you won't see any louder cheers. You won't see any better parades than when all those bucket trucks go rolling out of town and the job's complete and everybody knows that the darkness is going to be held at bay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the craziest things about society today is a lot of people take for granted how it all works.
Yes.
And I think there's a couple of things that you said in that one was the unorthodox path that you had to the position that you're at today. And I think that's something that I've sort of experienced in all this is it's almost a matter of who's willing to raise their hand and go out and try to move the market or do something that's beneficial for the workers. And I think watching understanding a little more of like Hugh's journey, hearing it from you too, it was really just a matter of who's willing to step up to the plate and actually take this on. Similar to how maybe when you arrived at Bulwark, like, hey, Derek, it's your call. You do what you want to do kind of thing. We trust you with great integrity and ethics to focus on doing the right thing and trying to produce really high quality outcomes with good instincts and good mentorship. Is that kind of my understanding of it?
Yeah, I think anytime you get into something to where there's a greater good involved, whether you call it that servant mentality, if you have a goal at the end of the day, what do you measure yourself? Well, we have a purpose, and that purpose was relatively easy to come by. In the sense that we protect those that power our world. Because unfortunately, especially in electrical, oil and gas obviously has its side too, but electrical is very unforgiving. I think when you look at recordables to actual fatalities, in general industry, 301. In electrical, it's 30-1. She is a very unforgiving mistress. She does not give you very many opportunities, regardless of your skill set, regardless of your longevity, to make many mistakes. And I remember when I was told, Derek, we're very, very good at what we do. We are highly educated. We are highly talented. Unfortunately, when we make mistakes, they're usually not small. Right. And usually there are repercussions that can be severe. And one of them, obviously, is an arcing fault. Obviously, in my business, we absolutely acknowledge shock. Shock injuries and fatalities from shock are still by far number one in electrical. We just happen to focus on the other one of the other hazards, and that's arc flash and protecting those against thermal. So when you look at what are you trying to give back? You're giving back to a profession that has taken on a challenge and works with something that is very, very beneficial, but with great benefit comes great challenges. And some of those great challenges it can hurt. Or one of the sayings that used to be going, electricity will hurt the whole time it's killing you, unfortunately. And that meme, even though it can be a little bit sardonic in a sense, a little bit black in its humor, it's very, very real. It will hurt the whole time. So we want to make sure that we can do our best to protect those. Now, we all know that when we work with dangerous stuff over enough period of time and nothing bad happens, we get a little bit of that.
You get cocky a little bit.
Yeah, you get cocky. But you get that functional blindness, whatever they call it, standardization of deviance. Yes, when I do stuff long enough and nothing bad happens, I take it for granted. So we have to encourage folks that, hey, we built this PPE to be utilized. If you get good stuff and you wear it right and you take care of it, it'll take care of you arguably on your worst working day. So just because you have it, we have to train you on how to wear it. We have to train you on how to take care of it. And that really has basically sustained my career now going on 25 plus years. It's crazy to sit here across from you and go, yeah, I've been in this position talking about this stuff now for a quarter century. I mean, who would have known? I mean, I honestly thought when 70E came in, which is very important to what you and I do, when we look at that two-step approach to protect our electrical codes, real easy, all day, every day, for the most part, Cat 2 clothing, okay, what we do. For the bigger stuff, 40 cal suits, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I honestly thought 3-4 years of training everybody and I need to get retrained. Why? Because everybody's automatically going to do it, right? Why wouldn't you do it?
Right.
Here's an easy solution.
Right.
They're going to buy all our
It's
stuff.
like wearing a helmet in
Yes.
football. Like you
Yeah.
may not get a concussion this game, but
Right.
it probably is going to happen at some point.
Yeah, but you still protect yourself. No one would go into a tackle or head-on tackle in football without their helmet.
Right.
Great comparison. Who would go into an energized panel, whether or not you're taking the covers off, whether or not you're looking at the shining parts, you're ultimately doing something. You're in there for a reason. Voltage testing, troubleshooting, verifying, whatever the case may be. Why would you go in there without your helmet? And in this case, our metaphorical helmet is hard hat, face shield, balaclava, hearing
PPE,
protection, and arc-rated clothing, our rubbers and our leather protectors, all the things that are listed out there. I thought for sure 5 years we're done. It's all going to be over. Everybody's going to institutionalize it. And then it's just going to be, up to the salespeople to where you buy it from. But all the training is going to be done. Here we are 25 years later, and we're still talking about the same things because not only do we still have to educate those who are in it every day, we figure the easy numbers right now are about 50%. And about another 50% of the 50%
50% is who's actively using it.
actively using it. And then half of that again is in daily wear. And the other half are in what we reference task-based. I'm going to get into it when I need it. They've either got a Cat 2 coverall and a 40 cal suit,
Sure.
or unfortunately, there's still a lot of folks out there, we wear a 40 cal suit for everything, which means half the time you're not going to wear it because who's going to climb into all that to
Sure.
do all that stuff? So we're still at half. Then you start looking at where we're going in the future. And you and I, we're
That
talking
trajectory
a little
curve
about,
for
oh
the
my
is
gosh.
insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can throw out where are we going with data centers. That's probably the big one that's pushing you and I to sit there and go, okay, we can see a little bit in the horizon, but where's it going to go? Some of the latest numbers I just heard was globally, we have about 10,000 data centers. The next 10 years, the projection is 100,000. We're going to build 90,000 data centers. Okay. Well, you look at that.
90% of the data center market is yet to be
Yet to
built.
come.
Yet to be built, yes.
And-
Sorry for interrupting you, but if you can like, subscribe, and reshare this podcast to someone you know, it'd really mean a lot to us. All right, let's get back to the episode.
That's all electrical. That's all the people who have to frame it. That's all the concrete that needs to be poured for the foundation. That means all the weld. So you start looking at where the greatest demand is going to come from. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's not going to be history majors and English majors. It's going to be plumbers, HVAC, welders, all our trades folks. And some of the numbers we're hearing just from on our utility side, there for every 3 line workers that are retiring over the next 10 years, we're replacing them with 1. We don't have enough to replace those who are just aging out. Fair or less what the demand's going to be for the building of the infrastructure. And data centers is just one piece of it.
Right.
I mean, the other requirements for all the other types of businesses that are going to be, everything runs off of electricity.
Absolutely. And let's even take that thought further out. It's before we get to the robotics portion of the next economy. We get to
Right.
all these other sort of adjacent things that are being bolted onto the data center infrastructure. There's going to be several other flower petals that come off of that now to say,
all the
look, here's
support
everything
functions.
else
Yeah.
coming from it. And our entire world is going to be encapsulated into, can you create enough power and can you deliver that power to these resources that make our next economy even work? And that's what I think it's interesting about it, because you always hear a lot of things, speculation, stock market, bubble, whatever. I was listening to a Bill Gates interview, and I thought it was the correct way that he summarized it was, yes, was the dot-com bubble a bubble in its sense? Yes. But did we also produce the internet out of it and look at what this is today? I think that the AI is the same thing. Not all these companies are going to make it, but trajectory-wise, this is the direction we're going. And at the highest risk factor of that is probably the electrical infrastructure associated with all of that. So you said there's 3 retiring for 1 that's being replaced. What's the thought process around that, as far as how do you encourage young people to get into the trades more at this point, do you think?
Well, I think like anything else, it has to be, we look at our leaders, whether it's the IBEW, National Electrical Contractors Association, our independent electrical contractors. Where do we have to start talking? You have to start talking to them in high school.
Right.
And for whatever reason, we have morphed into all our counselors want to push towards higher education. And you can have your views on how you think that's evolved over the last 50 years and where we're at today and what $100,000 education is. Or you can start encouraging our young folks who have the aptitude and have demonstrated the skills to where they can go into the workforce. They can work and earn a living for 4 years while they are in their apprenticeship, while they're getting their additional training. They will walk out close to making a six-figure income upon their 4 to 5 years. But the whole time they were doing that, they were learning a living wage, so they have no debt. Mm-hmm. So just think about it. If I walk out of college with a $50,000, $60,000 job and I'm straddled with $100,000 in debt.
The economy doesn't work in that
right.
way. Yes.
But you look at your 10-year projection, even if you grow to where you're making six figures over that 10-year plan, you're still saddled with this debt. Mm-hmm. Where on the trade side, you have now got six figures and you're escalating from there. So 10 years from there, let's say you're $1.50, $1.80, and you've had no debt this whole time. So just the quality of your personal life in that 10-year window versus someone who went the higher education route. Now, that's obviously not a blanket for everybody. But to your original question, we have to get the resources for the folks who need these people at the high school level. Just like your armed forces. You go in there and they have Marine recruiters, Navy recruiters, Coast Guard recruiters. Where's my electrical recruiters, my plumbing recruiters, my welding recruiters? Well, it's really hard because a lot of these places nowadays, what was cut during education? Shop class, welding class, electric class. At one point, and you can make the argument, high schools at one point at 18 years of age, the expectation was you were going to join the workforce and become a contributing member to society. And those who showed the aptitude were supposed to go to college. Not everybody. So high schools, they had home ec. They taught you how to take care of clothes and make a grilled cheese sandwich. They told you how to sew clothes. I mean, back in the day, those were all functions in order for you to be, upon graduation, a productive member of society. Well, those have all gone by the wayside. So what's all that's left? What is that high school counselor left to talk about? Well, it's only more education. Oh, you have to get more education because a lot of that trades is missing. We need to get those big organizations funding trades at the high school level. So at 18, when I graduate, I'm going to a vocational school. I'm going to take a 2-year welding course. Then I'm going to go into a manufacturer and I'm going to learn everything I need to do to become a master welder, a master electrician, a master plumber, a master framer. Because those 90,000 global data centers, and we're going to get a percentage of them, have to be built by somebody, and they're not going to be built by robots, and they're not going to be built by AI. Now, AI is going to assist them. AI is going to help build the plans. AI is going to help you deliver the materials much more efficiently because they're going to help you project them out, and you'll have different delivery zones. Absolutely.
Right.
But the actual hands-on labor, we are decades away from that being replaced. So, yeah, we need to get an active recruiting measure, and it can't just be on LinkedIn. We can't just be talking about it. People, if you want these young folks mind share, you have to start marketing to them a lot earlier. You have to get on where they get together. It can't be newsletters. It has to be on, Instagram. It has to be thing. It has to be, Gary Vee is a great resource. If you want to influence the young people, you've got to be where they are.
Yeah, you gotta
and they are in 15 to 30 second increments as they're scrolling. The IBW needs to be there. The welders need to be there. The plumbers need to be there.
Yeah,
in my humble opinion.
No, I agree with you completely. I had this thought at one point that what IBEW or IEC or any of them for that matter should do is they should start a social campaign where you've got somebody on the line or something like that, and they climb down, they take off all their gear, and they go get in there Corvette. They drive to their boat that's docked at the
Yeah.
local marina, and then they just play all weekend and stuff, and then they just go
Sure.
back. And that's just like this lifestyle routine thing that you see, because that is actually true. You see a lot of these guys, and now more women entering the workforce too in the trades, which is awesome to see. You're starting to see some of that lifestyle percolate out a little bit. Everyone that I know that's in a trade, whether it's a plumber, electrician, welder, whatever it is, by the time they're 25, 26, they've already got one house, and they may have a boat in the driveway with it too.
Yep.
So,
And they've got
obviously,
an Airbnb they're renting out, you know?
yeah, and like that's what you see with. I think it's a little bit different, because you would see some of that type of behavior in the oil and gas industry, which did seemingly be a little bit of boom and bust for several years there. What I'm looking at this thing is saying, guys, it's upward and upward and upward here, for, like you said, probably for the next decade or two. So grab it while it's here. I mean, this is a golden opportunity to work with your hands and make really good money.
And one of the things that we just didn't hit on there is I have a lot of friends who are in the military community, and not everybody transitioning out is, an officer, aka going into CEO or COO roles. Not everybody who is transitioning out is special forces and can go the route of, Jocko and some of the other ones who have their brands. There are some boots on the ground folks who've done 4, 6, 8 years and are now looking for that next. Well, what are some of the parallels? Team environment, discipline, education, task-oriented, outside, mission-specific. That all correlates to those. So there's a great market out there. I remember the Helmets to Hard Hats program, which was out there, is great. Also, who are other folks that gravitate towards those kind of trades and gravitate towards that kind of outside value? Look at all your college athletes. I mean, what's it? I mean, in my day, it was 1% of all college athletes went on into the pros, and then their lifespan in the pros was 3 to 4 years.
Right.
I mean, Tom Brady messed it up for everybody because everybody thinks you can play to 40, and everybody thinks that your career will be 20 years. The reality is even if you do make it, your career is 3.5 years. So look at all your graduating seniors in athletics, all the way from women's volleyball, water polo. They're all team type oriented.
And they've got that gear in their brain where they like to be challenged daily and with very specific tasks to get over this hill, do this task. So it fits into that ecosystem really well.
They want to have a vision. They want to have a purpose. They want to have a plan. And where does that tie right into? That ties right into all our trades. I mean, everybody has, when you get a blueprint, that's a plan. When you're going to solve the problem,
it's X's and O's.
That's the game plan. It's blocking and tackling from using my stuff. But so I think there's a ton of opportunity as we look as a overall industry of how can we recruit. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, but like anything else, we need to have the attention. We need to have the dollars, and we need to make the investment. It's not going to happen in 1 to 2 years, because you're going to have to counter 50 years of people saying everybody needs to go to higher education.
Yep.
Well, and you've got to deal with just even the peer pressure of parents. Well, where's Johnny going? Oh, Johnny's going to trade school.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
So I feel bad. He couldn't get into
stupid.
college.
Yeah, he couldn't get into college. Clearly.
What's the matter? He didn't.
He's not smart. He's not smart. It's like he's actually smarter because he's looking at his debt load, going, "This is stupid."
He's going to make a lot more money than your. But we've got to get rid of
Johnny
that
will
stigma.
have a boat in 5 years. Okay,
we've got to get rid of the stigma that college is the only route.
Mm-hmm. I think that something else that you were kind of hitting on was, I look at even the modernization of the military, and you look at drone swarming and just modern warfare as far as what it might look like in the next 2 to 3 years. Well, again, back to the original kind of equation of available assets to enter the trades. That military group is not going to be the same military group. It's not going to be infantry, right? It's not going to be all these sort of different layers of the military potentially in the near future. So what are those people going to do, right? And so who's going to be the active recruiting arm that's going to go in there and get those kids too? And the trades are sitting right there on the sideline being like, I'm looking at it the same as you. Get off the sideline. Let's go get them. Like, let's focus on really speaking and meeting them in the right medium that they're at and show them that this is a fantastic career. This is a golden opportunity, once in a lifetime type of a thing that's happening currently, where you're seeing this just enormous trajectory on infrastructure development and investment into it. And you can have a piece of that and ride that coattail. I mean, obviously this all goes back to the same thing that we're talking about in some regard, which is be safe.
Yeah, and again, just to build on what you said, even these arenas to where, okay, drone technology, where you don't have to take a 5-man crew and drive down the transmission road all the way. You can fly a drone over top and take a look and set up your resources so you do work safer. Even in the fire services, now they're sending in, robot dogs, and they're sending in drones to get a better overall picture of where to deploy their resources and to where they can be more efficient. All those need folks who are comfortable. Guess what? Doing this as a gamer.
Yeah.
That's all your drone
Their
stuff.
thumbs have been programmed to do this
already. Pre-programmed for success. So there's lots of opportunities for young folks to take a lot of what they are growing up with and going out and transfer that into the job force. Now, we do have to make sure that they do understand. They do have to have, basic skills. You do have to know what the working end of a hammer is. You have to know how to start a chainsaw. You need all those things can be taught, but if we take the time and we invest in these what we used to call cadet programs, and they go by a variety of different names today, but what are the one things that they all need? You have people who want to learn these skills. But who's financing it? Because at the end of the day, all this stuff sounds good. If we had all the money in the world, where would we put these resources? We would start training the next generation now. Mm-hmm. And that investment, then you're not sitting here, 5 years from now going, we can't find any candidates. Well, okay, go back. Where's your 10-year investment of those future candidates? Where were you when they were 12, 13, 14, and 15, and they were looking
You're promoting and influencing that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I think we should make a video game. A lineman video game. That's what we need to do.
There's probably could be done. You probably just gave someone right now watching this somewhere goes, I can do that.
Neversoft that made Tony Hawk Pro Skater needs to come out with a lineman video game about building infrastructure. Well, Minecraft is kind of doing that now, actually.
Or even just like, even if an electrical worker, he's walking into a building and all of a sudden things start sparking and things and he has to go solve it. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to make that work.
There's companies that are doing, and I see this in the automotive industry too, where they're doing augmented reality training and things like that. I think I've seen some people in the early beta phases of that trying to get that instituted. Let me ask you this, from a training standpoint, how important I think physical training is incredibly important, right? You can augment some of that. You can gamify it in a lot of ways, but you still need this really good hands-on training, right? You can't take your hands off of that wheel. Do you think that augmented reality, virtual reality in the training scenario where you're able to incorporate potentially a wider audience into the trades field or something like that, do you think that's a pathway for the future?
I think you're hitting it head on in the sense that we've gotten so good with AI and simulation and virtual reality. It would be very, very difficult for me to tell the difference between an actual 480 panel and one that I'm dealing with when I'm wearing my Oculus goggles and I'm actually interacting with. And just like we do in aircraft simulations, just like we do in anything, it's way better to make mistakes on the ground. It's way better to make mistakes in that augmented reality than it is in the real world. And also, when you look at that workforce that's coming up, yes, select your proper PPE. Here we are. Yes, I have to have my hard hat, my face shield, and then all of a sudden you go down and you're ready to go and it goes, can't go anywhere. You forgot your hearing protection in your balaclava or whatever the scenario is.
Right.
You're already teaching them that kind of JSA. They're walking through that virtual JSA before they ever get hands-on. And then when they do have hands-on, if something goes wrong, they're not being shocked. They're not being arc flashed. It's happened in virtual reality and they're learning from it. So yeah, I do think there's a big space in there, and it's coming. It's coming rapidly because as AI gets better and as AI builds these virtual spaces, we're going to find folks that do a lot of hands-on training with very, very low consequences.
Yeah, I did the what is that thing called? Sandbox VR, and the haptic vest, the haptic hands, and stuff like that. It was a really cool experience. It was incredibly immersive. I think that I think virtual reality or augmented reality, whichever it's not going to replace that fine motor skill piece of training. But when you're talking about that checklist item of selecting the right PPE, looking at a work order, doing all those sort of pre-actual task checklists, that makes a lot of sense for me when I'm thinking about if I want to create an electrical safety program. We'll use that as my training curriculum. Is, hey, we're going to do VR headsets for the first 2 sessions. You got to pass 2 in a row at 90%, whatever the grade scale is on that. But then now we approve you to go actually do the manual task side of it, and now you've got some baked in processes already working. I could see some sort of a hybrid scenario like that. I still get worried about it from the standpoint that you can't train. It's probably military in the same way, right? Call of Duty is not going to be actual war.
Oh, no, understood. And you can make it as close to as possible. But I think, it's all about mitigating risk at the end of the day. And then, like you said, eventually you have to go hands-on. But if you look at like what we do, some of the best stuff that we've had, well, really it started in the early 2000s, and Scott Margolin at Tyndale has continued on with his relationship at Kima Labs, and you can see those on our feeds when we're in LinkedIn. But having those live arc flash demos, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you prep people for what they're going to experience. The very first time that they are standing literally 30 feet away from a full-size mannequin in a cubicle, and they have energized equipment, and you hear the sounds go off, and you wait, and that first bam, and everybody flinches. I don't care if you've been 20 years, 30 years, everybody flinches, because it is far more dynamic and far more, you get the sound, you get the feel, you can feel the concussive force 30 feet away. And it makes it real because everybody else has seen the videos. Everybody else has been told the consequences. But when you actually see and feel that, it turns that event into a completely different kind of hierarchy as far as, we want to make sure that never happens. Well, if you follow your electrical safe work practices, if you follow your lockout and tag out, the likelihood of that ever happening to one of your people is greatly diminished. Can it be categorically eliminated the whole time? I'm not an electrician. I can't say that for sure. But the reason that we wear this stuff and the reason we promote get good stuff, wear it right, and take care of it is because I would rather have it and never need it than the opposite. Because the opposite is you are going to be hurt. And you're going to be hurt far more than you should have been if you were just wearing it. Now, that goes back into one of our biggest themes. We are not task-based folks, meaning do not put it on when you need it, because the easiest analogy, and if you've ever heard me speak, you've heard this ad nauseum. We all click our safety belts by law. Why? Well, it's required. Okay, why? Because that life-saving piece of equipment is designed to protect you when all the other engineering around you fails. It's to stop you from going through that windshield and being 25 feet down the asphalt. Ask any highway patrol officer survivability of ejection accidents. It's virtually nil. How many times are you going to click that safety belt from the time you're 15 to the time you're 75 and off my highways and never use it for what it was built for? Hopefully every time. How many times are you going to climb into my flame-resistant arc-rated shirt, pant, or coverall and never use it for what I built it for? Hopefully every time, right? Same mindset. We don't think twice. Our generation, okay, the following, do not think twice about a safety belt. Don't even notice it. They just clip it on and off they go. We want to get to the same place when we're wearing our flame-resistant arc-rated clothing. It is something that we just don't even think about. We put it on because, again, interacting with energized equipment, there are consequences if we do the smallest thing wrong. Or worse yet, our contractor community, I'm walking into a panel or a box or a disconnect that I have not been to before. I do not know what's behind that closure. I don't know what's left back there.
Exactly.
And I can just open that up, and here comes a bolt, a screw that was left there, goes face to face. And other than me going into it, now I could potentially be hurt because guess what? I didn't put my arc-rated coverall on to go do that task because my expectation was that's not going to have consequences. Or I'm wearing my arc-rated shirt and pant because that's what I always wear. Yeah, could I have some hand burns? Could I get some face? But I don't ignite. I don't continue to burn because many folks mistakenly think that we wear flame-resistant arc-rated clothing to protect against arc flashes. We don't. What do we wear to protect against? Clothing ignition. Clothing ignition is what ultimately causes catastrophic body burn, which ultimately can lead to fatality.
Right.
Stopping clothing ignition, I virtually eliminate fatality for the most part. There are some outlying areas where we could inhale some, copper or things like that. Very, very rare. If I don't catch fire, I don't have catastrophic body burn. I interrupt that pathway to fatality. The arc flash is just the ignition source. The ignition source is looking for fuel. If I don't bring any fuel into the environment, I'm going to mitigate injury. One of the biggest, I think you asked me earlier, he goes, Derek, what's one of the biggest moves you're seeing in what you do? Well, just recently, and by recently for us, it's every 3 years we start to see a shift. One of the biggest shifts we're seeing right now, and thankfully slow, is the move to arc-rated base layers.
Right.
Why? That takes the cotton t-shirt out of the equation. Why is that important? Because the cotton t-shirt may not be a cotton t-shirt. Why do I say that? Well, if I have instructed and trained my people that not to wear meltables, to wear natural fibers, which are cotton, wool, and silk.
Right.
If I instruct my whole team to wear white cotton t-shirts underneath here, and I look at my team and I see white Vs, am I 100% guaranteed those are all cotton? No. You can get 50-50, 60-40, 80-20. You could be introducing meltables all day long.
That's what I loved about what Bulwark did, was where you guys put the logo right there in between there. And so I can see at a quick glance, okay, everybody's got what they're supposed to have on right now. I thought that was so simple, but so obvious. I was like, oh, that was a great idea.
All the top folks do it. I don't care if it's a dragon. I don't care if it's the letters FR. There's some indicator there. As a safety manager now, as I look at my team, as I scan the room, there is no fuel. The other thing, again, we always forget about that big logo sitting on your chest, whether it's Harley Davidson, Kenworth, or whatever your favorite rocket, all those meltable inks. Those are just introducing stuff that could add to unnecessary injury. And so the biggest move we've seen in our world, it has been the move to base layers recently. And anything to get fuel out of the equation, we're more than happy to see happen.
What would you say? We're starting to run low on time, so I want to kind of give you the last opportunity to say, if you were to talk to an EHS person, let's say it's a new person, just started the job, and they're like, I got to start somewhere. Where do I go? Is that a conversation that you guys typically have where somebody comes to you and says, Derek, I've seen you online. I agree with a lot of the methodology of what you guys are doing. Where do I start when it comes to developing an electrical safety program for this company?
And let's just be clear, when I say electrical safety program and electrical safe work practices, we're just focusing on a very, very narrow strip there, and that is your arc-rated PPE. The best thing I can tell folks to do is the easiest and most economical thing to do if you are in general industry and you are starting from scratch is get your people into Category 2 shirts and pants all day, every day. Because you're still going to be required to figure out your engineering study, to do your arc flash hazard assessment, to get all those boxes labeled. But we know now, and we've known for a long time, but 25 years now we're into NFPA 70E. We have a good working knowledge that about 80% of all the equipment that an electrician is going to interact with across all general industries is going to be about 8 cals or less. And then we start looking at where are the pieces of equipment that are going to require our 40 cal flash
Yeah,
suits, et cetera.
high level tasks.
Yes.
Where, yes.
So we know that. So one of the simple things we can do, obviously, is get your people into Cat 2 clothing. Get your people to have where they have a few 40 cal flash suits as needed, and identify that equipment quickly. Get NFPA 70E as your standard and understand that and work with it. And then obviously, and most recently now, we're almost a year into it, believe it or not. Gosh, time goes so fast. November of 24, we had the new OSHA guidance. The first time in what, 20 years?
I think it was about 20 years.
That they actually said, look, this is a guidance, but please understand, if we are taking our time and making the effort, you all need to follow 70E. And here's the biggest reasons why. One, people still don't have the PPE necessary to do and work in and around energized equipment. The next piece was people who think they're working de-energized are not actually working de-energized. Because as they looked at making this guidance, they looked at the two key areas where electrical workers, and particularly general industry electricians, are getting hurt. One, they don't have it, not wearing it at all. That's
General
the big
industry
one.
being industrial facility.
Everything but utilities.
Basically panel board
Yes.
and transformer. Those are probably the
Everything
biggest
but
two.
utilities.
Yep.
Who's getting hurt? The electrician who doesn't have it. Well, I mean, you look at most of the articles that come across our feed, they are in a burn unit and they're hurt and no PPE at all. That's the big one. And then the next big one are the people who think they're doing it right and think they've locked it out and tagged it out and have either missed or skipped
Didn't
one of the 8
verify
steps.
now or something, yes.
Or it's getting backfed and they think, so they walk into it, they take their PPE off and they go and interact with it and end up getting unnecessarily hurt. So OSHA guidance, read that, 70E, and get the easiest and most economical thing you can do tomorrow is get your people's size measured and get your arc-rated clothing ordered. And your hard hat, your face shields, your balaclavas, your hearing protection, your rubbers and leathers. Those are the easiest things that you can do.
Yeah, it's like, just to use the football analogy to close it up, get a helmet on them.
Yeah.
Like immediately, at least get a helmet. We'll worry about the rest of it in a minute, but like, let's just get the head, like, let's cover up
Yeah,
at
if
least.
you're going to put your head into harm's way, let's protect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, Derek, I think that was awesome. That was a great, just kind of, I know we did it fast. I want to be able to bring you back and have a chance to maybe pull apart some of these topics even more. But I think for a first episode, I thought that was fantastic to just get some good nuts and bolts in this conversation. So thank you for your time.
Well, I greatly appreciate you all doing this. I appreciate OEL stepping up. And again, it was nice to sit there and not talk about the actual nuts and bolts of arc-rated clothing all the time, but some of the interesting topics that are happening in our industry that I think we're both very, very passionate about. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.